Growing up, my younger sister was always the center of attention, the favorite everyone doted on. I thought I understood our complicated relationship, but when things started feeling off between her and my fiancé, I couldn't ignore the warning signs. What I discovered behind closed doors broke everything I believed in and forced me down a path I never expected. One of quiet observation, careful planning, and a reckoning that changed all of us forever. I always knew my younger sister, Emily, was the favorite. We're only a year apart, Irish twins as my mom liked to say, but somehow from the moment she was born, everything started to revolve around her. You'd think she was made of glass and I was just the kid who happened to come first. Emily was smaller, more sensitive, needed more help. Meanwhile, I was handed the invisible checklist of what a good big sister should be. Responsible, patient, selfless. I was expected to understand things without being told, to sacrifice without complaint, to set the example. And I did. God, I really tried. But Emily learned fast. She figured out that if she cried, someone would come running. That if she pouted, people listened. If she messed up, someone else, usually me, would be left to sweep up the pieces. I can still remember the first time she got away with something big. She broke Mom's favorite vase, pointed at me and cried. I was grounded for a week. She got a hug and ice cream because she was so shaken. That became the pattern. Her chaos, my consequences. First, I didn't mind. I honestly thought that's just how sisters were. I was the older one, I was supposed to be stronger, steadier, more forgiving. That's what everyone told me. But as we got older, it didn't stop. If Emily forgot her homework, the blame fell on me for not helping her study. If something went missing in the house, I was interrogated first. If I made a new friend, Emily somehow ended up closer to them than I was. She had a way of slipping into every corner of my life, charming her way in and making it hers. And through all of it, I still loved her. Even when it hurt, even when I felt like a ghost in my own family, I kept telling myself she'd grow out of it. That eventually things would level out. That one day we'd stand shoulder to shoulder, not as rivals or opposites but as true sisters. That she'd stop seeing me as a stepping stone and start seeing me as someone who mattered. But I was wrong. So painfully wrong. Because while I was holding on to hope, while I was still clinging to the fantasy of sisterhood, Emily was already playing her next game. She was smiling in my face while planting the seeds of the worst betrayal I'd ever experienced. And the most devastating part? I never saw it coming. His name was Adam. I met him at a mutual friend's housewarming party. One of those dull, awkward adult get-togethers with too much wine, not enough food, and that forced small talk everyone tries to avoid. I was standing by the balcony, trying to catch a moment of fresh air away from the crowded living room, when he stepped outside too. We started talking, just casual stuff at first, but somehow the conversation stretched on for hours. He was kind, funny, grounded in a way that felt rare and comforting. For the first time in a long while, I felt truly seen, like someone was looking at me and not past me. After years of feeling like the second thought in my own family, the older sister who was always overshadowed, it was like finally someone had chosen me. Just me. We dated for almost 2 years before we got engaged. Adam wasn't flashy or showy, and that was exactly why I liked him. He felt safe. Real. He was the kind of person you could lean on when the world got too heavy. My parents liked him well enough, and even Emily seemed normal around him at first. She was a little quiet, maybe too smiley, but nothing about her ever screamed red flag. Least not then. The first time I brought Adam to a family dinner, Emily showed up wearing this little silk dress that I swear she hadn't touched in years. It caught me off guard. I remember thinking, really? You're going to wear that to a casual lasagna night? But I brushed it off. Emily always had a flair for drama, and I tried not to let it get under my skin. She made some joke about how it still fit perfectly and gave Adam a wink. I laughed because that's what I always did, laugh things off, pretend they didn't sting. I wanted so badly to believe everything was fine. Over the next few months, though, I noticed Emily suddenly had a lot more to say about my relationship. She started asking weirdly specific questions, too pointed to be innocent. Do you trust him completely? Do you think he's the one, really? What would you do if he ever cheated? Always with this little smirk on her face, like she was in on some private joke I wasn't allowed to hear. I told myself she was just being annoying, maybe even jealous. That was easier than facing the truth. But deep down, A whisper started to grow louder inside me. A quiet, nagging voice I kept pushing away. Watch her. I just didn't know yet how right that whisper was. It started small. The kind of little things you notice but try desperately not to admit to yourself because facing them feels like opening a door you're not ready to walk through. Adam became distant. Not in some dramatic soap opera way where he yelled or stormed out, but in subtle, almost invisible ways that slowly chipped away at the foundation of what we had. He was tired more often, coming home late with vague excuses about work. He spent more time on his phone, always turning it face down whenever I walked into the room, guarding it like a secret. When I casually asked, "Who was that?" or anything interesting, he flinched just slightly, like he wasn't ready to lie convincingly. And then, without me really noticing at first, Emily started showing up more. She'd randomly be nearby whenever Adam and I went out for coffee or dinner. Sometimes she'd text me, all innocent and bubbly. "OMG, I didn't know you were here. Mind if I join?" And like a fool, I always said yes. I wanted to believe she was just being friendly, just my little sister being sweet and sociable. But there was this flicker in her smile, something in the way she looked at him, that made my stomach twist into knots. A feeling I pushed down, told myself was paranoia. There was one particular night that sticks with me. We hosted a game night at my apartment, just a few friends, snacks, laughter. Emily came over early to help set up. But instead of actually helping, she spent most of the time glued to Adam. She laughed at his jokes like no one else mattered, lightly touching his arm here and there, leaning in close when they shared inside jokes I wasn't even a part of. I remember sitting on the couch watching them with a growing pit in my stomach thinking, when did they get so familiar? When did she stop being my little sister and start acting like she belonged in his world instead of me? I tried to brush it off for weeks, until one night I couldn't hold it in anymore. I pulled Adam aside, careful not to sound accusing, and said, "Hey, I've noticed Emily's been kind of flirty with you lately. Does that feel weird to you?" He just laughed, kissed my forehead softly and said, "You're overthinking it. She's your sister. She loves you. Don't be paranoid." Paranoid. That word echoed in my mind, twisting itself around my doubts until I almost believed it. Maybe I was crazy. Maybe I was just the sensitive older sister who had taken too many blows from Emily over the years, and was imagining threats where there were none. But I wasn't. I just didn't know yet how deep the betrayal went. The truth didn't come crashing down all at once. It dripped slowly, painfully, like a leaky faucet you keep telling yourself isn't worth fixing yet. It was a Saturday afternoon when it happened. I was at Adam's apartment, doing laundry while he ran out to grab groceries. His phone buzzed on the coffee table. Normally I wouldn't have touched it, but something in me snapped. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was years of ignoring my intuition. Maybe I was just tired of pretending everything was fine. The message preview read, "Emily Redheart. Still thinking about last night. I can still feel your hands on me." My entire body went cold. I stared at that screen hoping it was some kind of sick joke, that there was a perfectly reasonable explanation, like maybe she'd accidentally texted the wrong Adam, or maybe it was about some dream she had and she was just being weird. But I knew better. I unlocked his phone. I shouldn't have been able to. He must have changed it back to my birthday at some point. I opened their thread. Hundreds of messages. Flirty, sensual, intimate. Some just hours old. Photos. Inside jokes. Complaints about me. The two people I trusted most in the world mocking me. Plotting behind my back. Living a second relationship while I folded his shirts and planned our wedding. I didn't cry right away. I just sat there shaking, feeling like the floor had disappeared under me. Everything I had built. Every ounce of trust, every plan for the future. Gone in one careless message. But as I stared at the screen, one thought cut through the haze of heartbreak. I'm not going to scream. I'm not going to cry. I'm going to make them pay. I didn't confront him that day. I didn't rage, didn't throw the phone across the room. Didn't call Emily to scream at her or demand answers. No. That would have been too easy, too predictable. And worst of all, it would have given them exactly what they wanted. A show, a meltdown, proof that I was weak. I wasn't going to give them that satisfaction. Instead, I slid the phone back onto the coffee table, right where he left it. I wiped my hands clean of the betrayal like it was some invisible stain. When Adam walked through the door a few minutes later, juggling bags of groceries and humming to a song only he could hear, I smiled bright, warm like nothing was wrong. I kissed his cheek, whispered a casual welcome home, and even helped unpack the food as if our life together was normal and untouched by lies. He had no idea how close I was to tearing it all apart. That night, I lay beside him in bed while he slept peacefully, his back turned to me, the slow rise and fall of his chest a cruel reminder of his guilt. I stared at the ceiling, tracing cracks and shadows, feeling nothing. No tears, no fury, not even heartbreak. Just cold, icy clarity. The truth was sharper than any emotion. I was done being the fool. Done being the obedient, dependable older sister who swallowed her pride and carried everyone else's burdens just to keep the peace. Done pretending that their games didn't hurt me deeply. Now I was done. Now I was going to watch them both burn. And I'd do it quietly, carefully, and with a smile on my face. The very next morning, I began my quiet war. I took screenshots of every message, every stolen moment, every filthy little confession that dripped between their texts like poison. I backed everything up onto a flash drive, which I carefully hid in a makeup bag under my bathroom sink. A secret treasure trove of betrayal. Then I started tracking patterns. Days and times they met, lies Adam told to cover their tracks, excuses Emily spun to get away with it. It was almost too easy. Cheaters become lazy and sloppy when they think no one is watching. And all the while I kept playing the role they expected. The loving fiancé. The loyal sister. I laughed at their jokes, planned brunches, smiled for selfies like the perfect picture of happiness. But beneath that mask I was sharpening knives slowly, meticulously. Because this wasn't just about betrayal anymore. This was about justice. They say the best revenge is living well. But that's only true if your enemies know they lost. So I kept the wedding planning going. I let Adam believe we were moving forward. We toured venues, picked out cake flavors, even took engagement photos. I let him wrap his arms around me, whispering about forever, while I imagined the exact moment I'd gut him in front of everyone we knew. Emily played her part too. Overplayed it, honestly. She started helping more with the wedding, offering to organize things, suggesting decorations, pretending to be my biggest cheerleader. It was almost laughable how fake she was, but she didn't know that I knew. Behind the scenes, I played detective. I asked a friend who worked in IT to help me recover deleted messages and confirm their meeting locations using timestamps and location data. I paid in wine and whispered promises not to ask too many questions. He gave me more than I needed: hotel bookings, late-night Uber rides to Emily's apartment, even a receipt from a weekend business trip Adam supposedly took. Except he never left town. He spent the weekend at a luxury Airbnb with her. I started pulling strings, inviting certain people to the wedding who knew pieces of the puzzle, quietly ensuring my parents would be there early, making sure there would be photographers, videographers, and plenty of eyes watching. The day of reckoning was getting closer, and they had no idea. They were walking straight into the fire, thinking it was a celebration. It was a week before the wedding when I saw it, plain as day, in Emily's eyes. We were at our parents' house for a family dinner. Nothing fancy, just spaghetti and wine, but Mom was giddy, fussing over centerpieces and father-daughter dances. Adam sat next to me, arm lazily draped over my chair, while Emily sat across the table glowing. She wasn't just happy, she looked smug. Every time Adam said something sweet to me, her eyes flicked to him. Every time our mom mentioned how perfect we were together, her lips twitched with some sick satisfaction. It hit me like a brick. She thought she'd won already. To her, this was just a countdown to my breakdown. Maybe she thought he'd leave me at the altar. Maybe she expected I'd catch them last minute and cancel the whole thing in tears. Either way, she was enjoying it. That night, as we were leaving, she hugged me extra tight. "You sure you're ready for this?" she asked, resting her chin on my shoulder. "You know marriage is a big deal." I smiled and whispered back, "I've never been more ready." Because I wasn't preparing for a wedding. I was preparing for war. And Emily, poor delusional Emily, had no idea that I'd already built the stage she was about to be humiliated on, publicly, permanently, and without mercy. In the days leading up to the wedding, I fine-tuned every detail, not of the ceremony but of the reveal. I confirmed the photographer would be filming continuously during the vows. I made sure the reception had a slideshow projector and someone tech-savvy on standby, just in case. I updated the guest list one last time, adding a few of Adam's coworkers, People I knew he admired, respected, maybe even hoped to impress. And I made sure Emily's college friends were seated front and center. She always liked being the star of the show. I also drafted a simple note. Just a few sentences, no dramatics. I printed several copies, each one placed in a sealed envelope labeled, to be opened after the ceremony. I handed them to key guests, my parents, Adam's boss, my maid of honor, and told them it was something sentimental, a surprise I'd written for the people I cared about. It wasn't a lie. Inside each envelope was a link to a private folder. Screenshots, emails, photos, dates, times, messages between Adam and Emily. A timeline of betrayal, neatly arranged like a courtroom exhibit. Nothing graphic, nothing illegal. Just truth. Cold, undeniable, timestamped truth. And then I set one more plan in motion. The night before the wedding, I sent Adam a sweet message. Can't wait to be your wife tomorrow. I love you more than words. He replied with a heart emoji and me too. Meanwhile, Emily sent him a selfie from her bedroom, bare shoulders, hair tousled, and a caption that made me sick to my stomach. But I saved it anyway. The evidence was complete. All that was left now was showtime. The day of the wedding arrived like a dream. Sunny skies, soft music, family buzzing around with excitement. I looked the part. Glowing bride, radiant smile, calm as ever. No one suspected a thing. Not even Adam, who kissed my hand that morning and whispered, "See you at the altar." I nodded, kissed him back and thought, yes, you will. But not the way you think. The ceremony was beautiful. People cried. My father walked me down the aisle with tears in his eyes. I saw my mom clutching her chest like it was the happiest moment of her life. Adam looked nervous, but in the way grooms usually do. No sign of guilt. Emily stood by the altar in a pale blue dress, pretending to be supportive. Our eyes met briefly and she winked. That wink nearly made me laugh. We made it all the way to the vows. Adam went first. He talked about love, commitment, trust, the usual crap. I nodded, tears in my eyes, pretending to be overwhelmed. Then it was my turn. I held his hands and began. Adam, when we first met, I thought I'd found someone I could finally trust. Someone who'd never lie to me, who'd never betray me. But love isn't just about pretty words. It's about actions. About loyalty. About the truth. He blinked. The room shifted. I continued, louder now, my voice steady and clear. I wanted this to be a beginning. But it turns out it's actually the end. Because while I was busy planning our future, you were busy sleeping with my sister. A gasp rippled through the crowd. Someone dropped a glass. My mother made a sound I'll never forget. Adam's face drained of color. Emily, oh sweet Emily, froze. Her fake smile vanished like smoke. Then, right on cue, the projector lit up. The room went dead silent as the projector hummed to life. At first, it looked like a normal slideshow. Happy photos of me and Adam smiling, dancing, laughing together. Our guests chuckled, clapped softly. Adam glanced at me, confused but relieved, like maybe I just pulled a weird joke. Then the tone shifted. The next slide was a screenshot of a text from Emily. Wish I could fall asleep with you again tonight. I hate having to sneak around. Another slide. Adam replying, soon babe. She's getting suspicious. But I don't care anymore. I want you. Then photos. Ones I hadn't included in the printed envelopes. Him and Emily, at the Airbnb in her room, one where he was holding her from behind and kissing her shoulder. Not graphic. Just damning. The gasps grew louder. Someone actually said, oh my God. Adam stood frozen beside me. Emily started to stammer something. This isn't what it looks like. But no one was listening. I stepped back from the altar and looked directly at them both. This is what betrayal looks like, I said. This is what happens when you gamble with someone who has nothing left to lose. Adam reached out to me. Wait, please, can we talk about this? I laughed, actually laughed. Oh, we'll talk. Just not here. Not ever again. Then I turned to the crowd. Thank you all for coming. There's no wedding today. But there is truth. And you were all meant to see it. I walked out, veil in hand, dignity intact. Behind me, the church erupted into chaos. The days after the ruined wedding were a whirlwind of texts, calls, and stares. Everyone had an opinion, and of course some took sides. But the truth was clear to me. Adam and Emily had burned their bridges, burned my bridge, and I was done playing their victim. Adam tried to reach out. He left voicemails filled with apologies and excuses. Emily sent me passive-aggressive texts about family drama and how I was overreacting. I didn't respond. My parents were devastated, especially Mom. She cried and begged me to forgive Emily, saying she was just young and made a mistake. But after years of favoritism and manipulation, my forgiveness wasn't going to be a free gift anymore. Word spread quickly in our small town. Adam lost his job shortly after. His boss couldn't stomach the scandal. Emily's reputation took a hit too. Friends stopped returning her calls. She posted pictures pretending everything was fine. But I heard from a mutual friend she moved back in with my parents, alone and isolated. As for me, I focused on healing. I blocked both of them on every platform, changed my number, and threw myself into work and therapy. It hurt, but I refused to let their betrayal define me. Some days were harder than others. But with every sunrise I felt stronger. Life didn't magically get easier, but I slowly started rebuilding myself from the wreckage. I surrounded myself with friends who actually cared, and I poured my energy into things I loved, traveling, painting, and even taking a few cooking classes to remind myself how to enjoy simple pleasures again. I also learned to set boundaries, something I'd never done before with Emily or even with my family. I stopped answering calls or texts that felt like guilt trips or manipulations. For the first time, I put me first unapologetically. Emily tried to reach out once months later with a vague apology. I told her honestly that she broke my trust in a way I don't think she'll ever understand, and that right now I needed distance. It wasn't about bitterness anymore. It was about self-respect. I realized that sometimes the people closest to us can hurt us the most, but that doesn't mean we're broken. It means we're learning to protect ourselves better. Looking back, I wish I could tell my younger self one thing. Don't let anyone make you feel invisible, especially not your own family. Emily's betrayal was the worst kind of pain because it was personal, messy, and so deeply intertwined with years of being overlooked. But it also taught me that love isn't about sacrifice to the point of self-destruction. It's about respect, trust, and honesty. Without those, it's nothing. I learned to trust my gut, even when the signs are subtle, or when people gaslight you into doubting yourself. And most importantly, I learned that revenge, while satisfying, doesn't heal you. Only letting go and choosing yourself can do that. Today I'm still healing, but I'm stronger and wiser. I've learned to cherish the people who truly value me and to walk away from those who don't, no matter how close they are. If you're ever in a similar situation, remember this. Your worth isn't defined by others' actions. Protect your heart, trust yourself, and don't be afraid to rebuild. Even if it means starting over completely. It's been a year since that day. A year since the wedding that wasn't. A year since I tore down the illusions and forced the truth into the light. I'm not the same person I was then. I'm not bitter or broken. I'm simply me. I've found peace in boundaries, strength in solitude, and joy in the unexpected. I've even started dating again, slowly, carefully, learning to trust someone new without losing myself. Emily and Adam? They're distant memories now. I wish them no harm, only that someday they understand the damage they caused, not just to me but to themselves. For me, this chapter closed the moment I stopped letting their actions control my story. Life moves on, and so do I. Stronger, wiser, and more certain of who I am. To anyone out there facing betrayal from someone you love, hold on. Your story isn't over. The best chapters are still ahead.